as President Donald Trump signed the executive order banning men from competing in women's sports.
Now you're going to go out and win those events, right? Nice to see you all.
The state of Maine planned on just ignoring Trump's orders, so he initially just talked about cutting their federal funding.
I heard men are still playing in Maine. Is anybody here from Maine? I hate to tell you this, but we're not going to give them any federal money. They are still saying we want men to play in women's sports, and I cannot believe that they're doing that.
But later actually said it to their governor's face.
But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Are you not going to comply with it? We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
The idea that these states just think they can operate however they like is somewhat fine to me. As if I lived in Florida, I wouldn't want Biden to be able to enforce federal lockdowns in the state, but to think these governors believe that they're entitled that the entire country fund their dissidents is just stupid, as we as a country collectively voted against this activity taking place in our schools and women's sports as a whole. And Trump is correct in nearly half the state of Maine wanted this as well, minus the few deep blue cities inside. But what a bizarre reality we live in, that women's sports has to rely on Republican politicians to retain their rights to remain women's sports. The idea that the left-wing media wants to villainize Riley Gaines, Paula Scanlon, and all these little girls just for defending women's rights is peak insanity, as they literally can't conceptualize giving Trump a win, all in order to appease the people that, one, can't define what a woman is, and two, ties allowing men to compete in women's sports to combining the Paralympics with the original Olympics.
Absurd. From top to bottom, saying there should be a gender-neutral Olympics?
I know.
Are you serious?
Madness.
Do you also believe, Blossom, that we should combine the Paralympics and the Olympics?
I mean, why not? And to go back to Riley's point to
why
that
not?
last point.
Okay. You are completely insane.
Go back to that last point.
That's the problem with their whole argument. The idea of inclusion at its core level is great, but once you're afraid to put safety measures in place to those that would abuse inclusion, as in a male fighter that decides later in life they want to fight against girls instead, shattering skulls and results, or the many instances of women losing medals to biological men.
And it's men taking 900 sports trophies from women in recent years. And
they didn't take 900.
They took 900. There's a report just came out from the United Nations, actually. 890 trophies and medals across 600 women who were competitors, across 29 different sports and 400 competitions. That came out like yesterday.
And they deserved them.
It didn't happen, and they deserve them. Okay, that is the logic I hear from the pro-trans crowd. Yeah.
Thank you. They do deserve that.
The idea that something never happens, but when it does, it's a good thing, is basically their entire argument in a nutshell. So the lesson we should take away from this is, you simply can't even engage them in argument, as they're just a pigeon playing chess. No matter what moves you make, they'll just knock over the pieces and strut around as if they won. Now, I'm not faulting someone that's deeply entrenched into an argument having an incredibly emotional response. It's these politicians and other adults outside of the struggle that go to great lengths to take a side just to be anti-Trump, as the president also signed an order to end this indoctrination in schools. But these teachers on TikTok seem adamant about continuing the practice, even if it could pull the federal funding from their schools.
But in light of recent executive orders, if you're a teacher and also a content creator, I really encourage you to be mindful about how much information you give away about where you work and the demographic of the kids you work with. But when you are being loud online and not wise about keeping certain things private, you can put a target on the back of yourself and the back of your students, okay? And I'm trying to kind of dance around it so that, again,
And if I'm not mistaken, That school teacher was wearing a Prada necklace next to her Tiffany necklace, which I thought those things were in the thousands of dollars. So you have these extreme, somehow very well-off educators trying to teach other teachers on social media how to defy executive orders that, based on statistics alone, the parents likely voted for. But finally, we have a president that will actually enforce the orders / wishes of the populace through funding. Because I imagine these school districts, or even the states, would happily ignore what their leadership does, all until they can't pay the bills anymore, as the average American got a very clear view into what they wanted for their kids, and sent a very clear message as to what they'd rather have with their votes. But if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on how America is finally back, hopefully I've earned your subscription, then go check out the video on the terrifying reality on how inclusion is impacting air travel.